Okay. Hi, Lloyd. How are you?
Hi, Anna. I'm good, thank you. Yourself?
Yes, I'm good. Thank you. Good. The sun is shining over here. How is over there where you are?
Yeah, pretty much. Still got a few clouds to be fair, but yeah, can't complain.
Right. So we are here today to talk about your book, um, Finding Divinity.
That's the one. Yep.
Right. So I read the book, I can't remember how long ago, a few months ago, and I absolutely loved it.
Thank
I
you.
think the story was very good, very well written. And the first thing I would like to ask is, what inspired you to write the story in this book?
I mean, to be fair, from a young age, I did a lot of reading, so I've always enjoyed reading books. So to actually start writing one myself, it just came to me one day. I think it's probably about 8, 9 years ago. I just had this idea of this man, Divinity, who the book is sort of based on. And basically, yeah, it just grew from there. And about good 2 years of this idea going on in my head, growing, and it's weird because it really did change from how I first imagined it. And then when I actually eventually put pen to paper, yeah, it grew from there, and it took me a good 5 years to write it. But
Oh, wow. All right.
no, it's been a good
I
journey
thought it
though.
took you like a month or something to write the book.
Oh, no, no, no. It was a long, long work in progress. I've always been interested in sort of dark science fantasy genres, and telekinesis as a power.
Yeah, yeah.
So I always thought that was never ever fully realized in a media.
Mm,
For me, telekinesis, you can literally do anything because it is the
mm.
manipulation of matter itself, really, and that's what I explore in my book. The sort of the power that they have, some of the characters. But
Yeah,
yeah, no,
it reminded me a little bit of um, Carrie by Stephen King because that's her power, isn't it? It, I mean, I've read the book, which is way better than the film. But what I was going to ask you is, I mean, I couldn't find the exact numbers now. I just went through the book, but uh, you've included some numbers at the beginning of the book, if I'm not mistaken. I'm meaning to ask you is, did you choose these numbers randomly, or is there a symbology behind the numbers?
I believe you might be referring to 8 because there's a 8
Yes.
seems to crop up a lot. 8 happens to be my favorite number, but also it is you just turn it on its side and it's the symbol for infinity.
Yes.
So there's a lot of semblance around the number 8 for me, and I do like to use it a lot. There is a number of one of the orders members, his jumpsuit. It's like a one. I can't remember what it was, but it's actually 8 squared.
Yeah.
No, 8 to
Yeah.
the power of 8. Sorry. So yeah, it creeps up in a lot of ways. I don't know why. I just yeah.
Yeah, and also that reminds me, Scarlett, if I'm not mistaken, she's 16 years old.
She
Uh,
is, yes.
yeah, is there a reason that you chose this age?
It's coming of age story really. I think a lot of books that I do read that I thoroughly enjoy happen to be coming of age. It's a time in people's lives where there's a lot of change going on, so there's a lot of opportunity for good character development. In your teenage years, you can be a very different person. I know I was very, very hot-headed, very, very different to how I am now. I mean, I still can be quite hot-headed, but
I
I'm
was
a
just
lot
about
more
to say.
reserved. You did not know teenage me, Yana. Like, that's all I can say.
Oh, okay, that's great. When
But
you
yeah,
said
it's a
eight,
very good.
yeah, sorry, carry on, carry on.
Yeah, it's a very, very good part of life to write. I think a lot of people can resonate with the character struggles and the development that they go through in the formative years. Just becoming who you are as a person, as an adult, it's yeah, just struggles that you go through. It does define you, and I do like to put that into Scarlett a lot.
Yeah.
As you can see, she's quite timid at the start, and then goes another way.
Yeah, yeah. She is in my opinion, confused and angry young lady. for a number of reasons. And I think she's desperately trying to find love. That's the way I see the character. I don't know
Yes, she
if that
does
was your
want to be
intention.
loved. She does have an absence of love in her life. She feels like everyone's against her and the whole world's against her. So having that one person there who loves her and supports her fully would be something that she does need. But whether she will find that is another thing that you'll have to find out in
Yeah,
future
yeah.
installments.
Yeah, maybe that's why I was thinking actually today before the interview, because I always say to people I work with, if you don't love yourself, don't expect someone else to love you. Maybe, in the future books, Scarlett will realize that she needs to love herself first in order to attract the love she's so desperately seeking. Um,
Well, it could be. So it's funny you say that because although so she's never met her father,
mm,
but she doesn't really talk about it that much. It's not something that's prevalent, but again, it is something that's deep rooted in her, but she doesn't realize it yet. That absence of that father figure has impacted her a lot. But again, it's not something that she realizes because it's just normal to her. Right?
mm.
She's never had that there, so she doesn't question it that much at the moment, anyway.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. When you I just wanted to say here for number eight, when you mentioned earlier the number eight is your favorite number. We are in global year 8 this year, and it's the year of karma and also infinite possibilities because of the symbol, as you said. So maybe it's the year where you're going to succeed with your book, Lloyd.
I hope so. It's been a long journey with trying to get a literary agent on board. It is quite disheartening at times as well when I send out everything to these literary agents, and then I just get I liked the book, but it's not for me. And I would like some more criticism because I'd like to know what I can do better to actually get a literary agent on board to be able
Right.
to get my book published. Um, but again, that hopefully, if fingers crossed, if I believe in the good karma, it might come this year.
Yeah, well, everything happens for a reason. Maybe it's not the time the way I see it is it's a form of protection, maybe. It's not your time just yet. Did you contact that lady I told you about?
No, no, I did not actually. It's because I've got a bit demotivated, and then everything else going on with my work life at the moment. I've not really been working on my book. However, I have had some recent motivation when one of my friends actually made my book into a physical copy.
Oh,
So yes, this is Finding Divinity that my friend made for me. It's not actually a real book, but it is a real book.
that looks really
So that
good,
was,
Lloyd.
yeah, it did make me cry when I got this, and it did really motivate me to actually get it published properly because to see it in proper book format is lovely.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, I bet. Right. So can we touch on some of the other characters in the book? So we mentioned Scarlett. She's basically the main character in your book. And she's got her friend Tiffany.
Tiffany.
Um, yeah, Tiffany seems to, in my opinion, seems to keep Scarlett in balance. Because the
Yes.
way I see it, Tiffany is in the 3D world, Scarlett is in the fifth dimension or another dimension because of, her abilities. And
Yep.
the way I see it is, it's basically what we're going through right now as a human race. We need to keep everything in balance because Scarlett seems to be out of balance because of everything that she is going through.
Yep. Tiffany is very much her grounding force. Like she keeps her realized, and it it's fun because when you have a main character, you always have that supportive side character. But I didn't want it to be like that, where it was just the side character is just there for the main character and only, do things for her. She has to have her own perspective as well. And that why it was really important to me that Tiffany goes on her own journey as well. Um, I actually prefer Tiffany. Like Tiffany's probably one of my
Yeah.
favorite characters. Scarlett annoys me a little bit, to be fair, but
Yeah.
it's who she is. So,
Yeah.
but Tiffany is there ultimately as well to show that she can keep up with Scarlett as well, even though she doesn't have her abilities. She is just a normal person, very lovely, very sweet, very kind, like very compassionate. She can see that even when Scarlett's in her bad moods and doing these, shall we say, horrific things,
Yeah.
she still sees why. She looks for the reason. She doesn't just judge her on her actions. And I think it's really important to have someone like that for a character
Mm,
like Scarlett to, like you say, keep her in the real world, to keep her grounded,
yeah.
because Scarlett really does need that when, especially when she's sort of sensing everything around her. She doesn't know what's going on. She does
Mm,
need that someone to bring her back to reality and
yeah.
say, no, you can't do that. That's too far. Like,
Mm. What I also like about the book is the so it also reminded me a little bit of The Handmaid's Tale. It doesn't happen, the events don't take place in modern world. It's like post-apocalyptic, is this the term? Times
yes,
when,
yeah. So it's
it's
like a
pretty much off,
dystopian sort of
yeah, pretty much off grid.
post-apocalyptic dystopian world.
Yeah. And there was I can't remember the name of that character now, the teacher. Um,
Miss Ronaldson.
yes, I actually quite like her. I think she's a badass.
Yes, so it's actually funny. Originally, she was meant to die quite early on, but I just loved her character so much that I just couldn't do it. I had to find a way to keep her in because she's such an interesting character. And obviously, a lot of my friends, when they first were reading it, especially in the first few chapters, they were like, "She gives me Miss Trunchbull vibes from
Oh,
Matilda."
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But she's nothing like that at all, because and as the book goes on, you do see that she really, really does care. But with the world that they're living in, as obviously you said, it's a post-apocalyptic world. It's a very dangerous world. It's kill or be killed.
Mm,
They do need that tough love, that discipline, and she does have to dole it out, and
yeah,
that's why she does it, because she really wants everyone in that village to succeed, and to be able to fend for themselves. And obviously, she really does drill that into them.
yeah. I like her as well. At the beginning, when she first appeared in the book, I was quite annoyed with her because I don't like the whole dictatorship vibe
Yeah, very
around her.
authoritarian. But
Yeah,
she obviously, as you find out, she was a very high rank. She was the highest ranking woman in the military.
yeah,
So it comes with her background, really.
yeah,
So when you see the struggles that she's actually had to go through, you can definitely understand why she's so hardened and rigid.
yeah. Right. So the 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 whole purpose of the, let's say, the journey throughout the book is to find divinity, which seems to be it took me well, not a while to realize that divinity is actually the name of a divine being. Is that, yeah?
It's basically another term for God,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah. And I think the way, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen in the next books, but I'm actually hoping the Scarlet will find peace through divinity or find a way to control her powers through divinity.
So that is the main journey of the next book.
Right.
Is her tutelage with divinity. So obviously he does appear at the end of the book,
Mm,
which is, it's funny because, so originally, when I had this concept, divinity was the main character, and he is kind of the main character of my series. But I didn't want to start the book with my main character. I wanted to start the book with someone who's naive to the situation, doesn't know really much about the world that they're in, and them discovering it, because then as a reader, you're going through the same sort of journey as the main character in that sense of discovering. And I like the fact that there's an air of ambiguity, around divinity and around whether he even is real at first, and then what he's capable of. So you don't know much about him in this first book, whereas in the second book you do discover a lot, because we'll start to get some point of view chapters from him as well.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I quite like the fact that you slowly introduce that the character of divinity into the book, because otherwise it's not going to be interesting to read. At the beginning you start, this is divinity, blah blah blah, and then the end.
He needs this air of mystery around him. He
Yeah,
really
yeah,
does, because that's
yeah,
who he is. He's a very mysterious character, very quirky. Like
yeah, yeah.
loosely based off myself, like. But there again, all my characters are loosely based off myself because they've come from my head. So
Yeah, yeah, of course, yeah, absolutely.
Scarlett's tantrums definitely come out in me at times. So
Um, one thing I would like to ask is, so did you edit your own book? Because in my opinion, it's written very well, very professionally, like someone who has been in the industry for years and years and years wrote that book.
thank you. Yes, I went through a couple of rounds of editing. I do have a friend as well. So my best friend, who I call Midge, when I first started, I asked her if she would want to basically be a proofreader slash edit, because when I actually started, I had an even older laptop and the enter key didn't work,
All
so I
right,
couldn't put paragraphs in or anything. So I used to just put forward dash the lines, and she
all
would have
right.
to go through and make the paragraphs. But I'd write a chapter, I would edit it, and then I would send it to her, and she would proofread and come back with some suggestions. And then again, I would edit it again. And then once I had fully completed the book, I went through and edited everything, sent it through to her. She went through and had a good look. Because you always find the odd word that you've done wrong,
Yeah.
and I never wanted my book to get published with that odd mistake that I do
Mm,
see in some books. It happens, I get
yeah,
it, but I
yeah,
didn't want it. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to go through my book and see a misspelt word. So yes, I sent it to her, and then she sent it back to me for me to go through one more final time. So yeah, it's had probably about 4 or 5 different
yeah.
edits.
I know the feeling, because before I publish a blog, I read it like two, three, four, five, and every time I find a mistake.
It's because you know what it's meant to say in your head, so you'll just be
Yeah,
reading it out how it should, and your eyes just skim over the mistakes sometimes. So you really do need them extra set of eyes to sometimes go through and comb through it
yeah,
and say that's not right, like that should be wrong. Yeah. So
yeah. It's good to have this person in your life who can point out your mistakes, but not sort of in a negative ways, and sort of like a fresh pair of eyes.
yeah, it's funny. Tiffany's quite loosely based on her as well. She is
Oh,
this beacon of light in my life. She's always been very supportive. She's very similar to the description of the character as well, of how
oh,
she looks. So yeah, she's always just been this positive light and energy in my life. So it was very easy to write that sort of
oh.
friendship between them, because we do have a similar one between ourselves.
That
So
is beautiful, right? That is beautiful. Okay, so what about Scarlett?
thank
Is
you.
is her character based on someone from your real life?
Who? Sorry,
Scarlett. Is she
Scarlett.
yeah,
Um, Again, a bit of myself from my teenage years. Obviously, I'm not a woman, but I've always enjoyed reading characters that are strong females. So I've always wanted to do that justice in my own writing. As you can see, there's quite a lot of females in
yeah.
my book, and they're very, very strong in different ways, and tend to be the men that I tend to write as villains because I don't particularly like them that much. So no, yeah, I did definitely have a lot of myself in Scarlet. There's a lot of similarities between Scarlet and Divinity as well,
Yes.
which
Yeah.
is again, yeah,
Well, yeah, I think the main similarity, in my opinion, is that they both have incredible abilities, but Divinity can control these abilities, while Scarlet can't control her abilities, and also her emotions are all over the place, and as a which is normal for a 16-year-old girl, and she has been through a lot um in her life. So yeah, even though I was so angry with her while I was reading the book, I felt sorry for her. I wish I could give the character a hug.
I love that there though, because that's what I wanted to go for to make you have different feelings for that. You know, you are angry at some of the actions, but at the same time you understand and you have sympathy there. And I found that very difficult to do because it is hard to get a character that people don't often like their actions, but also root for.
Mm.
So that was something that was very hard to capture. But I'm glad that you said that because it obviously did come
Oh
through.
yeah, yeah. I quite like that. I was very annoyed with her. So I was like, oh, come on, don't be like that. Ugh, she means well. But yeah, yeah, it was a good book. I really enjoyed reading. I was surprised that I liked it so much because this is not a book that I usually read. I like crimes. I like to read crime books. But I think it's the characters more than anything that, usually you resonate with some of the characters. You find yourself in some of the characters because I think there is a little bit of me in every one of the characters. And I think there is a little bit of you in every one of the characters.
It's the way I wrote it. So again, when I said that, how I imagined it first, it changed so much in the conception. It's because of my writing style. I am very slow when it comes to writing, but that's because I have to sit and stare at the computer screen and really get into the mindset of the
Yeah,
character and think, what would they actually do in this scenario? And yeah, it was very much the plot is driven by character action. So I had to change a lot of plot points that I had in my mind because the character would do something else that I didn't want them to do, and then I'd just have to go along with it. And that's yeah, I just let them narrate the story basically. They drove the story and did everything in my mind, obviously. But yeah, I
yeah,
had to
yeah.
sit there and think about what they would actually do.
Yeah,
So
I
I
can
wanted it to
imagine it.
be as
Sorry.
realistic as possible.
Yeah, yeah,
Even though obviously there's the element of the unrealistic with the
mm,
powers and everything, but I
yeah,
wanted it to seem realistic in what a post-apocalyptic world would be. You're not going to have loads of people celebrating all the time. It's going to be a bleak world.
mm,
So the characters can be quite stoic at times, but that
yeah.
fits in with the setting of the world that they're in.
Yeah, I was quite impressed with the children who had really good surviving skills thanks to this to their teacher. You can't you I mean, I have survived. I'm confident to say that I have some surviving skills because I'm from older generation, but the next generation is like, no.
Yeah, no, because we're all just plugged in all the time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I luckily did get out and do a lot of camping as a kid as well. I
Yeah.
spent a lot of my time in the woods growing up, so I do have some sort of knowledge of the outside world as well. So
Yeah.
I think I
Yeah.
will be hopefully okay. But again, nothing compared to these children who have had it
Yeah.
drilled in them from the day they were
Yeah.
born, basically.
Yeah.
Miss Ronaldson ain't gonna let that slide.
Yeah, absolutely. And I quite like the character. I can't remember his name now. The Tiffany's boyfriend.
Oh, Jason.
That's it.
Yes.
Yeah. I felt this sort of young leader vibe with him. And I think if they continue to be together in the next book, I think they're going to be like a power couple.
I will not say anything.
Oh no, okay.
I will neither confirm nor deny. Like
So when is
you
the
might be
next book?
surprised.
When is the next book coming?
So I have already started to write it, but again, I've been doing a lot of my focus when I am doing my writing is trying to get a literary agent on board to actually get this one published. Because ideally, I would like to become a full-time writer so I could focus all my time on writing and then pump out books a lot faster. Because
Yeah,
I do have lots of other book series ideas as well. So once I've finished, there's 3 more books for this book series. So there's going to be 4. There originally was going to be 3, but then book 1 and 2. Well, book 1 was just too big, so it got split into 1 and 2 basically. Um, but yeah, no, I would love to be able to just pump it out in a year, but I reckon it will again probably take another 5 years or something because
yeah.
it's the
I
process that how I write.
Yeah, it's not just that, but I mean, I run my own businesses, and as you know, I work full time, and it's not easy to combine the two. It can be very exhausting. So, you have to protect your energy more or less, as much as you want to, focus. on your writing, 100%, you also have to be reasonable at times, I suppose.
You have to be in the right mindset. You
Yeah.
cannot write if you are not in the right mindset. It will be bad writing. And I've tried a few times. I tried to force myself, and then when I came back to it and reread it, I was like, no, I ended up deleting it and changing it because it was just, yeah, you need to be in a good state of mind for it. And if I don't feel like writing, I'm not going to force myself to,
Yeah,
because
of course.
I know it won't be worthwhile.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I know the feeling. Yeah. I've started writing a blog, I don't know how long ago, and I wrote, I don't know, 5, 6 sentences. And as you said, I'm just not in the right mindset to write it. Sometimes I write things in like half an hour, but other times it's like, oh God, I can't be bothered today.
it is annoying though as well because I do have it all panned out
Yeah.
in my head of
Yeah.
roughly how I want it to look. There's obviously it's going to change, but I know what the last words are in the last book. I know exactly what it's going to say, and that won't change. Like the last line, that will always be the same. So yeah, but again, it's how I get there. It's the journey. I've got to go on the characters' journeys with them because that's the only way it's going to be about character centric, and
Yeah.
what grips you in is good characters. I think you can have a mediocre story, but if you have amazing characters, it will be the best thing ever because you won't care about the mediocre story. Whereas if you had an amazing story and mediocre characters, you're just not going to want to read on
Yeah.
because you have no interest.
I agree. Yeah. I follow few authors and they write book series. And when I read about the same character, and when I read this book, I feel like I'm reconnecting with an old friend. And I feel that when I read your next books, I'm going to feel exactly the same way about Scarlett and Tiffany and Jason and their teacher. It's and this is a good feeling because I don't know how you feel about reading, but for me, reading is an escape from reality. It helps me to
Yes.
release, whatever is going on in my head.
That's exactly what it is. I love picking up a new book. To be fair, even an old book. I'm
Mm.
currently rereading one of my favourite old series, The Lorien Legacies.
Right.
Um, I, I am number four, The Rise of Six, The Power of Six. Sorry, not The Rise of Six. It's Rise of Nine after that. But yeah, no, like you say, it is like greeting an old friend again, and you just get those feels in your stomach of it's happy to see you, like,
Yeah, yeah,
and you go on
yeah.
this journey with them, and it does transport you to another world. Especially good writers, like they
Yeah,
will literally take you there. You can sense everything around you, the smells, the sounds, and I think it does it in a better way than TV or movies ever
yeah,
can.
yeah.
So yeah, I think it is a wonderful, wonderful
Well,
thing to be able to
because you
read.
use your imagination, and your imagination can take you anywhere.
Well, yes, I do have a friend though who she has something called aphantasia, which means she cannot actually picture things in her head.
All right.
So she won't be able to see something, but she still loves my book. But I find it very. I mean, I picked her brain a few times because I'm very, very intrigued. I'm like how she processes things if not she can't mentally image it. It's like she'll know what it is, but she just can't see it in her head. And I didn't know until she told me that was even a thing. I thought everyone would be able to see things in the head. So
Oh, I didn't know
that's
that.
where she then basically told me there's something called hyperphantasia,
Right.
which is where your imagery in your head is very, very good. And I do believe that might be something that I have because I can see this world that I've created in my head
Mm.
like vividly, like everything is so clear. And yeah, then obviously then I've tried to get that down on paper, and that's essentially why I started writing because of these beautiful worlds and characters that I was imagining. I just had to get that out to the world as
Yeah,
well, which
I
I still need
understand.
to do.
Yeah, come on, Lloyd. Oh, yeah, I really enjoyed the book, and I'm really pleased that I have the opportunity, and I'm grateful that I have the opportunity to talk to you about your book. One day when you become a famous author and I become a famous whatever, we need to meet again.
Yes, we'll do another interview like
Yeah,
about our successes, and I will
yeah.
interview you as back as well.
Oh, yeah, that would be really cool. Right, we've got,
Maybe we'll see. I've never been a host, so
well, do you know what? I've never thought that I would have a YouTube channel and a TikTok channel and whatever else, but anything is
just got to go for
possible.
it sometimes. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, anything is possible. Right, we've got 2 minutes. Let's pause here and I'm gonna join you in a minute on the other link. Is that okay?
yeah, that's fine.
All right then. See you in a minute.
I'll see you in a minute. Bye.
There you go. We are back recording. Right. So, Lloyd, how can people purchase your book? I know you don't have a website, you know your social media, but there's always a way.
Um, at the moment, there is no official way to purchase the book. I mean, if any of your viewers would like to purchase the book, they could always, I could potentially set up a PayPal or something, and if they email me their interest, I would send them a copy over. Um, I could do that. But again, I'm really on the focus of getting it out there first and properly into the world before publishing. But if there is anyone that urgently wants to read it, then yes, I will consider um, a small donation to my
Oh
cause.
yeah, yeah. You can set up a PayPal or you can have, I've got this thing called Buy Me a Coffee.
No,
So basically, you know, if someone wants to contribute to your work, you know, it's just, you know, as a donation, you can, it's very easy to set an account.
I
But
suppose I
if
could
you,
set up like a GoFundMe page or something, maybe
yeah,
one of them.
whatever you want to send me the link and I'll include it at when I post this video. And if you wouldn't mind, I can also include an email if people want to contact you and, you know, about your book.
Yeah, no, that'll be fine. Especially if any of your audiences are literary agents or know someone who is a literary agent that would be interested in my dark science fantasy series. I am eager to get this into the hands of someone who enjoys that genre. Because that's one thing I have found when I've been doing my research. A lot of literary agents aren't looking for fantasy or science fiction, and mine happens to be a perfect blend between the both. So it is
Um,
difficult finding.
I'm trying to
So
think of
yes,
something. Have you thought of looking for someone on one of these freelance websites like Fiverr, People Per Hour, I think they were called.
I don't know if I have already looked, to be fair, because like I say, I did cast a very broad net when I was doing my search
Right.
of all different literary agents. There was a few that was obviously interested in in science and science fiction and fantasy, but they were some of the ones that I got back with. Like, we did like it, but I didn't fall in love with it. Like, and I get that because I understand that a literary agent needs to fall in love with it if they want to sell it and to be able to
Yeah,
push it. They
yeah.
really do need to believe in it. Um, but yeah, it is annoying though, especially when a lot of my friends and people, who are close ones, family who have read it, thoroughly love the book, think it's amazing. They say that they think it's being done by a proper author, and I'm like, oh,
Mm.
thank you, that will be me one day.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
then yeah, just not being able to actually get it out to the masses, because yeah, I do think that it would do well.
Well, like I said to you, well, everything happens for a reason, and also it happens at the right time. So I suppose it's not the right time yet. I mean, I know what you're going through at the moment, and maybe this is the book is just not, you're not ready for that step because, you know, imagine how much energy you have to dedicate to publishing a book. Because if, you know, when the publisher likes your book, they will be like, oh, when is the next book coming?
I'm sorry, you've just got up there.
Oh, you're breaking. Oh, the connection is not very good for some reason.
Yeah, just got a bit spotty then. I think it's come back though.
I think it's come back. Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can hear you again anyway.
All right. Yeah. I
So
think, yeah, I
carry on.
think the
Sorry,
internet connection is playing up again.
I can hear. Can you not
Yeah,
hear me?
yeah, it's not great, but it's okay. Hello? Technology is not on our side today, Lloyd.
We're back.
I think we need to find divinity in
No,
every
it's
word.
not.
Right. What I was gonna say also is, so I mean, obviously you can't tell people what to do, but if someone wants to write a book, because more and more people are looking for ways to start their own businesses these days, what is your advice to someone who wants to express their creativity and write a book or write a blog or whatever?
Oh, I definitely encourage it. You might not be the best writer, you might not be good with words, but you have dedication to actually get it down. So again, just find a friend and ask them to proofread it and sort out the grammar. You'll feel so much better. Do it. I don't know, it gives you some rest, and I think for your brain as well, it really does invigorate the soul.
Hello? Lloyd, we're having some serious troubles with technology today. I don't know if that's good or bad.
I don't know. Maybe Divinity is messing up with the internet, right?
Yeah, I need to have a word with him. I need to have a word with him. Right. So I asked earlier, but the connection pretty much fell apart. What would you advise if someone wants to express their creativity, write their own books, start their own blog, or whichever way they want to express their creativity?
I'd say you just need to do it. I did start to say so. I believe that everyone has a book in them.
Mm.
Whether you may not be the best writer or not, you will still have that story idea in you. And it's only until you get and put pen to paper can you actually start bringing that into fruition. And again, if you're not the best writer, find a friend who is good with it and just get them to proofread it after. Because in the end of the day, you can still have the story. You'll have that in your head, the imagination to build a world. Or it doesn't need to be building a world, it could just be in this world and you've just got a particular character you explore. It doesn't even need to be a story. Like you say, creativity comes in many shapes and forms. It might just be drawing, and it's the soul really. As a part of creating something, well, I've actually done that. You so I do encourage anyone who's do.
Right, the connection fell apart for a bit, but I got I still heard the main part of the answer. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. I think I don't know if it's because it's bank holiday weekend or because it's Good Friday or whatever. I don't know what is going on. I actually checked to see if
Yeah,
it's Mercury
it might be a
retrograde.
good place. This is the universe that is to end.
Yeah, I think
I
you're
think.
right. Yeah. Well, well, Lloyd, I'm sure we'll meet again, when you publish your next book. We'll meet again, whether it's online or face to face, it doesn't matter to me. But yeah, thank you very much for joining me today and for talking about your book. And yeah, it was really, really nice to hear your story. Thank you very much for sharing it.
Thank you for having me. Very nice to be able to actually talk to someone about my book, and yeah, thank you for inviting me onto your chat.
See you later. Bye.
And we will speak again.